This man never expected it. After the whole class was summoned to another world, everyone clearly received an overpowered class, yet their average attack power was only around 100. In contrast, his stats were 6 to 7 times higher than his classmates. Even the chosen hero among them had less than half of his starting abilities. Others had at most 2 or 3 skills, but he started with more than a dozen. Among them, Stealth Aura was already maxed out. You should know that his class was just a humble assassin, yet no one knew about his abilities. Turns out, right after arriving in the new world, the king told them they were summoned to defeat the Demon King. Even though they could silently chant to see their stats, he insisted they touch a crystal ball to publicly display their status screen. Everyone else foolishly rushed to touch it, dazed by their sudden superpowers. Only Jack found it suspicious. After all, in such an unknown situation, revealing your stats in front of others seemed too reckless, especially when it wasn't clear if the king was trustworthy. Realizing it was almost his turn, he immediately activated Stealth Aura. The moment the skill activated, he became like air in others' eyes. They thought he had left without anyone noticing. After everyone had finished showing their stats, Jack followed behind them to see what would happen next. At that moment, he accidentally noticed a hidden camera on the ceiling. This made him even more convinced something was off, but what he didn't know was, someone had been watching his every move. Soon, night fell. While everyone else was getting ready to sleep, Jack went outside alone. To gather intel, he decided to sneak into the king's room. With his current physical abilities, he easily reached his target location. Then he overheard the king talking with the princess inside, saying everything was going smoothly, and that the kids hadn't discovered their plan. They were forbidden from entering the library to gain knowledge, etc. Jack didn't know the king's true intentions, but he was sure they were up to no good. Technically, he could kill them without anyone knowing, but to be safe, he chose not to act. Early the next morning, Jack hesitated about whether to tell his classmates what happened yesterday, but he feared no one would believe him and it might alert the enemy. By now, the others were fully immersed in their roles. They actually believed the king's words, and were determined to defeat the Demon King. To further strengthen their abilities, the king sent the Knight Commander, John, to train them for 1 month. Jack had no interest in any of this. Instead, he wanted to check out the library the king mentioned, but he didn't realize that his unauthorized departure was noticed by John. As a result, he was stopped by John before he could even act. Even though he had Stealth Aura activated the entire time, John didn't hide his awareness of it. He said he had a special magic eye that could detect temperature differences visually. Jack initially considered attacking, but John unexpectedly said he wouldn't report him to the king. From what John said, it seemed he wasn't aligned with the king. He was also curious about Jack's Stealth Aura level. Since even his magic I couldn't see Jack, he only noticed someone was there by the change in surrounding temperature. Seeing this, Jack admitted it was maxed out. But aside from that, most of his skills were only level 1, and he didn't know how to level them up, nor how to return to his original world. Although John knew nothing about the latter, he was very knowledgeable about leveling up. He could help Jack level up without anyone else knowing, though Jack didn't know why he was being so kind. Things unfolded just as John had promised. He helped Jack improve his skill levels, until the 1-month training ended. Of course, during that time, Jack didn't forget about the library. He found a coup plan disguised as a cookbook, but it turned out John had deliberately hidden it there. It was written to overthrow the king's rule, the reason being that the king had gone mad, and was trying to distort the laws of this world. That was also why he helped Jack. He wanted Jack to lend him a hand, but he didn't know that on the very first day in this world, Jack had almost killed the king. Jack didn't refuse his request. The next morning, since the training period had ended, the king ordered them to test their skills in a nearby labyrinth. On the way, Jack noticed a strange person. The person was surprised Jack could detect them. She simply asked Jack a question. The person praised as a hero until now. What kind of sacrifice was made to summon them? The day Jack finds out might be the day they meet again. It was a complete riddle. Jack didn't press further. Next, the group arrived at the labyrinth. Although in Jack's eyes, everyone else's stats were quite average, even the weakest among them was still considered strong compared to the native inhabitants of this world. Everything went smoothly up to the 67th floor, but it was on this very floor that an accident occurred. A large number of monsters suddenly appeared, plunging them into a life or death crisis. At that moment, the hero suddenly remembered. The princess had given him a smoke bomb to repel monsters before they left. She told him to use it in an emergency. However, after he threw it, the monsters did disappear. That's true, but in their place appeared an S-class Minotaur. This was a monster that only appeared at the deepest level of the labyrinth. Seeing this, Jack didn't hesitate to act. Even though his stats were already monstrous, his low level was still a major issue. With his current strength, he wasn't enough to handle a monster of this caliber. The hero was even worse off. He seemed so terrified that he couldn't even attack. But in Jack's memory, the hero wasn't normally this timid. It felt more like he was under some kind of curse. Luckily, one of the classmates was a curse breaker. Upon testing, they found he was indeed afflicted by a powerful curse, but even the curse breaker couldn't lift it. In this dire moment, Jack had no choice but to rely on himself. He decided to use the ultimate move he had trained during this time. Only John had seen it before. He knew exactly how powerful it was. Seeing this, he chose to cooperate with Jack. He decisively unleashed his light thunder magic to create an opening for Jack to strike. It turned out this move had a condition. There had to be shadows around to activate it, and where there is light, there are shadows. At that moment, the condition was met, and the limitation meant the power was even greater.
影魔法起動